Welcome to Reels on the Rocks, a show where your host Whiskey and Sweet Tea discuss film from the unpretentious perspective. It wouldn't be a discussion about cinematic satire without covering the beloved queer classic, But I'm a Cheerleader. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and as always, please be advised that spoilers Welcome back, listeners. We're back with another satirical movie in one of the genres that I usually fail to grasp, as Whiskey can point out.
Yeah, welcome back to Whistle and T-Bird, everybody. But, no, I was actually thinking about that today. So, like, this time last year, I believe, is when we did retro revivals.
Right.
And, you know, good pairing, but for your choice, and we get into this in the discussion, but we kind of realized, like, you misunderstood the assignment. You got, like, we kind of agreed that it was more of a collage film than a retro revival. But no, this one, 5 minutes into watching it, I was like, yep, this is definitely a satire. This is based on, you know, what I said last week and everything. But we'll get into that. I was not expecting this because we're still kind of trying to see if you guys prefer our show without like a mini segment in the beginning. So we're going to get right into the meat mostly, but you did say you had something you wanted to touch on.
Yes, just really quickly. We've been talking about this, I think, for years now. We're finally seeing some action here. There has been a class action lawsuit filed against Amazon. I'm not sure if you saw about this. Regarding,
I actually didn't hear about this, so this is cool. Go into it, because somehow I have not seen the headlines on this one for some reason.
So this one is this. You know, there's always stuff against media stuff all the time, but this one is big enough. It's actually made Variety and The Hollywood Reporter, which tells me this one has teeth. Our title of the article by The Hollywood Reporter is "You Don't Actually Own That Movie You Just Bought. A New Class Action Lawsuit Targets Amazon." Okay. This is by Winston Cho. So this is all about how, I guess, the everyday consumer is kind of, I just now coming around to the idea that something that, not to sound like elitist or anything, but like, since we have like been pushing physical media forever, we've explained this before, that how basically when you buy something on a digital platform, be it Amazon, Apple, whatever, you don't own it. You get a license, and it can expire or be revoked at any time. So this all came about essentially because, and it's hilarious what brought this about. This was filed by Lisa Rengold, who bought Bella and the Bulldogs Volume 4 on Amazon in May for $20.79, but lost access to the title soon after. Basically, it reverted. You know, they lost their licensing, but it's like, it's pretty sucky. She had it for like a month, right? And they're saying,
well, you know,
go ahead.
It's funny. So I didn't hear about the class action lawsuit. We've definitely touched on this on the show, but so recently, like, I had my birthday, you know, and I was visiting family and stuff, and like went out to dinner. And it's funny, I've always been harping on, like, buy physical media. Like, you own a license, you don't, like, my dad loves Discovery Plus. And like years ago when the whole Discovery Warner merger was going on, I was telling him, like, oh yeah, like there was like people who bought stuff from Discovery, like they had their licenses revoked on all platforms. And I was like trying to explain it to him, and he was like, wow, that sucks, but I love Discovery. Like, he didn't get what I was trying to say. But at my birthday dinner thing, he was bringing up, like, oh, you don't actually own the movies you buy on it. And I was like, I've been telling you this for like 5 years.
Don't you love it when your parents finally come around?
So it's just like old people, man. It's like you tell them the thing, and it's like they're not listening to you, and then when it comes up on their news thing, like they get it then.
One of the things I guess that gave it teeth is according to this article, recent legislative changes make the lawsuit even more viable. Earlier this year, a California law went into effect barring the advertisement of a transaction as a purchase unless it offers unrestricted ownership of that project. Under the statute, sellers must obtain acknowledgement that buyers are aware they're actually buying a limited license, in this case, movies or TV shows, that can be revoked. And when you buy on Amazon, no. I mean, like, you like buried in their terms of services when you first sign up, it's probably there, but when you press purchase, that doesn't happen. Which I'm kind of like, they should just say long-term rental is what they really should say.
Yeah. Well,
especially when you're paying full price.
What I am hoping, because you know, as funny as it is that woman bought that title,
Bella and the Bulldogs.
What even is that?
That is, I guess she bought it for her kids because that was like a Nickelodeon show kind of after.
Oh yeah. No, it's one of those where I've never heard of it, but just the title is really, you know, I knew it was a kids show from the title. It's just funny. Like, anyway, what's ridiculous to me, like, it's not even that, like, understanding that it's a license. It sounds like with her experience, she bought it and it was really soon after, like a day or something.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, the least you could do is give her a refund, you know?
Right.
Like, I know they'd probably be giving a lot of money back if they did that with every license. But it's only fair, like, you know, I don't know. Frankly, I feel like, I like what you're saying, long-term rental should be like a term. But it's just so ridiculous. Again, you shouldn't have to, like, worry about that sort of thing. The only thing I can think of, and this is kind of what made me hesitant to buy digital copies years ago, like I'm talking about, like, when I was in college and stuff, and the idea of owning a digital version of the film, my thing was like, well, what if the company goes up?
Yeah.
Or goes under? Which, that's, like, understandable, and you can't really get mad about it, you know. And the idea of Amazon going under is pretty absurd these days.
This is being litigated right now, so I'm sure we'll have more updates about it in the future. But because we've harped on this so much, I just wanted to make sure that we, you know, cover this as well. We'll see where this goes. Hopefully, I think at the very least, it should at least opt to the change of the button from buy to something else. My favorite would be illusion of ownership. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with that. But so we're heading into our main topic of the satirical September. Ooh, I like that. Satirical September. You've probably said this before and I just didn't think, but I like that. Anyway, so my pick for this month was 2000's But I'm a Cheerleader. Classic film. But before we get into that, what are you drinking?
Well, I kept it simple, and it's something I haven't had on this show, but is quite ubiquitous and easy to find. In my mind, I was like, well, what would a cheerleader drink? Especially in these trying times. And although it didn't exist when this movie came out, say it with me now, audience, White Claw!
Oh my God.
So I got myself a black cherry White Claw, because that is definitely what a cheerleader would drink nowadays. And I've never had a White Claw. I have had hard seltzer. I was at a show, and they had, like, it was when I was in Nashville, visiting someone, and I don't even think they had White Claw. They might have, but they had some, you know, hipster brand that I tried, because hard seltzer was becoming really popular. I know, like, the Nelk Boys also have, like, I think it's called Happy Dad or something like that. Anyway.
Happy Dad.
So yeah, first time trying a White Claw. How about you, T?
So I got a little more creative, not that much more creative. Found an article from delicious.com in Australia called A Pom Pom Cocktail. Super easy.
Ooh.
It's just like berry sorbet, pomegranate juice, and vodka. And it's a cold cocktail, so obviously it hits really well in these hot times. Like, I don't know about where you are, probably not, but here, like, it was like 100 something today. So
yeah,
I don't think I've had
here.
I don't think I've had my curtains open since July.
It's been hot here. Just the level of hot is not nearly what you would consider
if
hot.
you tell me
like,
it's in the 80s, I will kill you.
Lately it has been. Over the weekend, I think it got up to the 90s here. I was at work, so I wasn't home, but I'm pretty sure it got up to the 90s, because the other 2 days ago it was in the 80s, and I was kind of surprised it was that warm, because it felt like, oh wow, it's not that hot today. So I'm pretty sure it's been at least in the 90s, but that's still nothing to you. Plus you also get humidity and stuff out where you're at, right? So
Right. So I'm just like just actively dying.
I will say, first time having a White Claw, I can see why these are so popular, because the black cherry flavor is stronger than it would be in like a LaCroix or something. Like this is, as far as like seltzer water, this is the strongest flavor I think I've ever had. So I see why they like it.
Tasty, tasty, tasty drinks.
Yes.
Got our cocktail settles. We got our sort of mini topic done. But I'm a cheerleader. Satirical September. So this is my pick. This is a classic film in my community, obviously. Let's get into the basics really quick. This was directed by Jamie Babbitt. She has done a ton of TV. Several, like a couple of my faves, Castle, Drop Dead Diva. She did lots of it.
She did a bunch of It's Always Sunny.
Yes.
I looked into her. She's like the TV queen. I looked, because I was like, mainly I was curious if it was a lesbian director, and indeed it was. But when I was looking at her filmography, I don't think she hasn't done many movies, but I also don't think she's done a movie in like a long time.
Yeah.
She's mainly sticks with TV, but she's good at what she does. I didn't look at which episodes of It's Always Sunny she did, but
I think it was like 63 episodes or something. It was a chunk.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, and it's one of my favorite shows, so I can at least say, well, and that too, it's pretty diverse, because like It's Always Sunny is like one style of comedy, but then she was also doing a bunch of shows I could see you enjoying, so she knows how to like direct appropriately for the tone of each show.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So she actually came up with the whole idea and everything. She said that she didn't feel qualified to write it though. So she had this other person, Brian Wayne Peterson, write it, and he is notable for creating, I believe, Smallville, and I know he wrote on Under the Dome as well. The music was by Pat Irwin. Now, Pat Irwin was a member of the B-52s for, I think, almost 2 decades. He also did the original music for some other TV shows. The ones that popped out to me were all 3 of the Dexter spin-offs / revivals, like Resurgence, New Blood, and Original Sin. He did all the music for that. Then the art direction, which is very important in this film, was by Macy Werner. Super low budget movie. It's kind of obvious this was super low budget, but it doesn't feel low budget to me. So this was $1 million. Box office was $2.6 million. It won 2 awards: the Audience Award and the Grain de Cinéphage at the Créteil International Women's Film Festival. Then we also have a sort of stacked cast here, just not at the time. We have Natasha Lyonne as Megan, Clea Duvall as Graham, Kathy Moriarty as Mary, RuPaul as Mike, Dante Bosco as Dolph, Wesley Mann as Lloyd, Richard Mole as Larry, Katrina Phillips as Jan, Douglas Spain as Andre, Kip Perdue as Clayton, Joel Michaely as Joel, Michelle Williams as Kimberly, and Melanie Linsky as Hillary. So, obviously, we all know Dante Bosco, legend. Like I think you said when you saw this, oh my god, the guy from Hook is in here.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's, as you said, you know him. I don't believe that you didn't see Hook as a kid, but yeah, a lot of people
I probably
know him as
did,
Prince Zuko.
but it didn't register.
Well, see, that's why, like, because the thing with him doing Prince Zuko is you don't see him. he's voice acting. In fact, like when I saw him in the booth, that's when I was like, oh my god, I think that's Rufio. Like, because you know what I mean? Because like you recognize him because it's him. Like, you know, he looks a certain way.
He has a very distinctive look and sound to him.
Yeah, and he's like he's one of those people. He looks like a grown up version of when he was a kid.
Yeah,
he also
like
he
Ralph
did a Rufio
Macchio.
like yeah, he also did like a Rufio fan film that was like kickstarted a few years ago. So it's like I hadn't seen him in a while, but it was like, oh, he looks, you know, like I saw what he looked like as an adult.
He's actually the reason why I first watched this movie, because when I was in high school, we watched this movie called Strictly Ballroom, which I believe he's in also.
Yep.
And I remember being like,
and no wonder you are such a big fan of Baz Luhrmann, because that was like his directorial debut.
Listen, I didn't know who Baz Luhrmann was until Moulin Rouge.
Yeah, well, Strictly Ballroom, I believe, was his first film.
Well, just, you know, I only saw that in my speech class when we had to learn public speaking. I forget why we watched it. But anyway, he was in that. And I remember thinking, oh my god, he's kind of good looking. What else is he in? And then I always did what I always did back then, as I looked up their name and then LGBT to see if they say anything like controversial. And that's when I found out he was in this movie, and I was like, okay, now I have to watch this movie. That's how I found out about it. And then, you know, Natasha Lyonne, you know, she's kind of blown up. She's that series Russian Doll.
That's she's her. Huge. Yeah, she's huge. Like one of the favorites on. It's funny. I had never heard of her before. Orange is the New Black. And she was great in Russian Doll. I haven't seen any of the. I think there's only one other season. I saw the first season of Russian Doll. It was really good. But I remember like people saying like they were big fans of hers, and I was kind of like, hasn't she only been around for like a brief amount of time? So that kind of clued me in that I guess she's been in the industry a lot longer than I realized. So seeing her in this, I was kind of like, oh my god, wow, it's Natasha Lyonne, and she's extremely young. Like, like oh my god. In that too, like I guess she has been, because a lot of the stuff that she's in is very LGBT. Like even Russian Doll, that's not the focus of the show, but she's even playing a lesbian in that.
Right.
So I guess in real life she is. That's like one of those things too, where I'm like, is she that in real life, or is she just kind of typecast as a lesbian because she's always playing one? But I guess that might be the case, because I mean, I'm assuming she is a lesbian in real life, but kind of seeing that this is how far back she's made these kinds of films, like it's entirely possible that you need a lesbian here, let's call up Natasha Lyonne. She's great at being a lesbian.
Well, I did double check. Not that we need to double check, but according to Wikipedia, under the relationship category, she does identify as straight.
Okay, so she's typecast as a lesbian in the end. Well, that's cool. She is really good. I mean, if she is straight in real life, I kind of have to give her massive kudos that I kind of believe, especially after this movie. I was like, okay, that settles it. I think she's just is gay in real life.
She's
so
just
good
really,
on her.
She's just really good at it.
she is. I mean, like, and that's the thing too. She's also kind of she writes, like, from my understanding, she's one of the writers on Russian Doll. So like she's involved like behind the scenes as well. She is very talented. She's one of those people I should kind of do a deep dive into, because I thought she was really good in this. But again, this movie, we're watching it for the show, but seeing that she's been doing stuff since it looks like she was like a teenager, like she probably does have a much more colorful career that I'm not even aware of.
Well, she was even I think in the American Pie movies too.
Oh yeah, you know, I also think she might have been in Say Anything. I remember there was a character who was like kind of a, I don't remember if the character was a lesbian, but she was like a songwriter type. Maybe I'm confusing this with American Pie. Like I remember it was like she was like really into like Kurt Cobain and stuff like that. So maybe I'm thinking, maybe this is the character from American Pie, and I just thought it was in Say Anything. But yeah, no, and that actually makes sense too, because I think that character looked kind of like her. But no, she's great in this. Also, Moriarty, I know from the Casper movie as a kid, and also she just has one of those very evil sounding voices. Like, I think she's someone who is always playing a villain.
Well, she unfortunately got her debut in Raging Bull, but she did receive several nominations for that performance. I know her from Soap Dish. Kind of, it's not a great movie, but I've always enjoyed it, and kind of controversial in the LGBT world. I really like it though. I might have to make us watch that at some point, although I think you'll hate it. You probably would, but
you must know her from Casper.
See, I don't remember. I know I watched Casper. I don't remember it.
She's like, oh, well, I mean, it's coming to theaters. It's coming back to theaters.
It is? So. Oh, for what anniversary?
It is. I told you, everything's coming. Maybe that'll be a mini topic next month. Like, everything is coming back.
I mean, I just watched Clue 3 times last week.
Clue, Casper, Jaws is currently in theaters. I just saw a poster for Back to the Future. Everything was coming back to theaters again. That could be a mini topic for the for next episode, or the episode after next episode. But no, she's really good. Also, gotta love that RuPaul is playing a closeted gay man. And this is, I bet it's in your notes somewhere. But you know the bit where Moriarty's son, who is clearly a gay man, is like dancing while doing yard work, and he's like listening to a song, and you can kind of hear it diegetically.
It's like RuPaul's
that song is a RuPaul song. Yep.
Yeah. Oh my god, it's called I think it's called something party or something. Hang on. I mean, I looked it up because I was like, I think that's RuPaul, and then he is in the soundtrack. So no, yeah, but that's wild that it's that meta. They said this is though one of the few times that RuPaul appears, in an acting role out of drag.
Yeah. Well, and the other interesting thing, it's your film choice, so I kind of left a lot of the research to you. But something that I didn't know if you were going to touch on, so I just kind of did some research.
Yes.
And I kind of mentioned it to you. So one thing I noticed during the incredibly catchy opening title sequence, which I love that song, and I love that because of this movie I was able to finally find out what that song is called. Because I've heard it before. I've heard the French version of it before, and so I was like, okay, finally I can be like, what is the song at the beginning of But I'm a Cheerleader? Because I couldn't, you know what I mean? Like, I couldn't remember exactly where I've heard that song in other movies, or so anyway. Chick Habit, by the way, love that song. But so during the opening titles, I saw this was a Lionsgate film, and I was like, wow, okay, so this is like early Lionsgate. And it sounds like you, T, are not super... I think you're more familiar with Lionsgate than you realize, because they have a lot of...
I'm familiar with, that they were a major studio and distributor at one point. I just didn't know a lot of the lore behind it.
Yeah, so at least for me, I feel like it's got to be for your generation too. You just might not have been paying attention to some of the movies you were seeing. But so in the 2000s, so even if you go and look up Lionsgate, they are the largest and most successful mini major film studio in North America. And they've been around for a long time. So I didn't know any of this, but they were actually founded all the way back in 1962 in Montreal, Canada, except they were not originally called Lionsgate. For a long time, they were called Cinepix Film Properties, but they changed their name to Lionsgate in 1998.
Oh, okay, literally.
Crazy, right? So this is literally when they changed to Lionsgate. And so the reason, I'm sure many of you listening probably have heard of them. Again, they are they've fallen off a little bit. Right now they've got a new film coming out. I believe it might even be this weekend as of recording this, but they've got a Stephen King adaptation called The Long Walk coming out.
Yeah.
And They've fallen a bit. Back when I was interning, they were considered as big as one of the big boys, as Universal, as Disney. Like they didn't have their own studio space or anything like that. They didn't have their own backlot, from what I understand. It's all it was all just offices and stuff. But the stuff they were producing, like just to list a few of their IPs, I grew to know them from the Saw franchise. Uh, as I'm always saying, if you want your studio to get rich, come up with a horror franchise and you'll, be making Lord of the Rings anytime soon. Uh, so they did Saw, they did Twilight, they did The Hunger Games, they did Hostel, they did Divergent, and there's even more than that. They actually have a bunch of
YA franchises was kind of their bread and butter for a while.
YA franchises. They had a few horror franchises, but the YA, like Hunger Games, is what made them comparable to like Universal or Paramount or something like that, because that was such a massive hit. Like their cash cow, and the reason that they became a household name when I was growing up was the Saw franchise, because they were cranking those out every year. Like there was a new Saw movie, and it kind of reminds me of New Line Cinema, because they got really big from the Nightmare on Elm Street films, which they also were cranking out every year in the 80s. And then, they went on to, I joked about it a second ago, but they, their bread and butter was horror movies and stoner comedies, and they eventually produced Lord of the Rings. So that was kind of Lionsgate. They had their own kind of small projects, and eventually, because Hunger Games, I think, was nominated for some Academy Awards and stuff, that first one anyway.
Right, yeah.
But they also have a bunch of subsidiaries. So Summit Entertainment, which is usually their YA stuff, that's usually like book based on like young adult books. So like Divergent and Twilight was Summit Entertainment, which is owned by Lionsgate. Spyglass Media Group, which I definitely recognize that logo, the dude looking through the spyglass, and like silhouette. Don't remember which movies those are, but I know that logo. Roadside Attractions is another one. Also, I got like kind of weird conflicting information looking into them, so I'm going to say this. I don't know how accurate it is, but it looks like Lionsgate itself is a subsidiary of Starz Entertainment, which apparently also owns like MGM Plus. That's what I was saying. I don't know, like different information than what I saw on like the Lionsgate Wikipedia thing. So
they may have. I think there was a partnership with Starz at one point with MGM for MGM Plus. I do believe it's now wholly owned by Amazon after Amazon acquired MGM.
Right.
I'm pretty sure.
That's why I'm like, that sounds wrong. Like all the stuff, give it up for Wikipedia. All the stuff on their page about Lionsgate seemed to be accurate. But then like a bunch, I'm just, when I Googled like Lionsgate, for some reason, Starz Entertainment came up, and then it listed Lionsgate as well as all of those subsidiaries of Lionsgate I listed as a subsidiary of Starz Entertainment. So I don't know if that's legit or if that's just, AI hallucinations being posted on Google.
Probably.
But I thought it was worth mentioning, because that was the other interesting thing in my research, is finding out, this movie came out when Lionsgate became a thing. Because there's like been history of Lionsgate. Obviously, they were like Cinepix from the 60s until 1998. And then from 1998 to 2005, they spelled their name differently. It was Lionsgate, like 2 words.
Yeah.
And then in 2005, they just made it 1 word. And that's like where I think of Lionsgate, because they have like that logo with the golden gate opening, and then there's the word, and it looks like you're entering heaven.
Okay, so this is my experience with Lionsgate. My first time acknowledging them as an actual entity was back in, I want to say it's like 2006 or 2007, when for the first time on DVD, Moonlighting was released on DVD, and it was put out by Lionsgate Home Entertainment. And I think it's either the first 4 or the first 3 seasons when they were put out, they had the old Lionsgate logo. I don't know if you remember this one. It was literally just a lion, and then like stars would come and like form at 3 points on it. That's what I remember. And
that's
then
funny.
Later, it became sort of what you're talking about. I think they've shortened it since then. But like maybe they still use the whole one where, you know, it's like you're passing through all the gears and then out of the lock, and then the thing opens, and like you said, it's heaven.
That's the one that I'm familiar with. And one thing that was cool when you were seeing a Saw movie or like Hostel or one of their horror movies, they changed it up so the gate was all rusted and creepy looking, and then when it opened up, it was like fire and brimstone. So I liked that. Like if you knew if you were going to see a scary movie from Lionsgate because they made their gate look scarier. But that's the one I'm familiar with. And that's the other thing. I don't think I ever saw their old logo, but unfortunately, because I watched this on Amazon, they just have the current Lionsgate, you know, where it like opens into heaven and whatever. So like that's, I don't think I've seen the old logo, but I'm not even sure, because when it would have been the old logo for this movie, they just have the current one, because I bet it's like a DVD print or something.
So speaking of this, so this was originally supposed to be distributed by Fine Line Features, which interesting that you bring this up and how they grew to be as big as New Line, because Fine Line is a subsidiary of New Line. The deal fell through, and then Lionsgate picked it up, and so they did the theatrical thing and then the home video distribution for this film. And they also did, so the film turned, I think, 20 years old like 5 years ago. But just this year, like this is still how big and important of a movie this is, for at least even for Lionsgate, is that they put out a really, really nice, on Amazon, a 4K release for this that is absolutely gorgeous. It's like it has a slip cover, and the slip cover is like see-through, and it's Megan's character like in like almost like a Barbie box with all her pom-poms and her accessories on the side, and the slip cover comes off. It's really, really, really nice. And that just speaks to how important of a release this is for Lionsgate. Even this time, despite it probably being, you know, put out and like they thought, okay, it'll be like a little indie film. It'll do, you know, a little bit of money, but we're good. So I just think that that's, I love to see like when something is this old and it still gets really cool releases like that, because, you know, it draws the cash. I do not believe this has ever been, because people will ask, I do not believe this has ever been in the Criterion Collection. Although it seems very much like something that would have been, with it being such like an indie small film like this.
It is kind of a silly movie. Like, so in my segment on those boutique distributors, this is kind of what I'm talking about, because I do think this could have like a neat like boutique release, like an Arrow Films kind of thing. Like what you're describing sounds really fun, and that's what I mean. Like, you know, we won't go into it as in depth as that segment was on the previous episode, but like here, hey, business people, what if you created a boutique film distributor for queer films? And you called it something funny and like, you know, or
literally
not
call
funny,
it the celluloid closet.
Who knows? Like you could call it whatever you want, but you know, and just focus on like really important, you know, queer cinema kind of things and release it. Maybe have like fun menus, original artwork. This is exactly kind of the thing, because I like, not to say it's not an important film. And again, Criterion, it's a toss-up what they're going to pick every year, because there's even like, you know, important films that they pass up.
Right.
You know, it's like, you know, not every like Martin Scorsese film gets picked and stuff like that too. So it's kind of, and then they'll pick something that people are just kind of like, wait, what? Why'd you pick that? But then, but they do pick stuff again. Like I can't remember which closet picks I was watching, but I swear to God, someone picked Mean Girls out of the closet, which means that would be on the Criterion Collection. So like they do pick stuff like this. I feel like this is such a small release that wouldn't, and again, who knows why they choose the films they do, but my guess is like maybe this is like too indie for them, because it does, like, I don't think it's a bad, I'll bring this up. So one thing I think is really good about this as a pairing with our last review is that Starship Troopers had a Hollywood budget. It had over $100 million put into it. This had $1 million.
Yeah.
You know, they really had to make it work with what they had. And it's very apparent in the movie for me that it was a very cheap, but not in a bad way. Frankly, I think this is kind of a good movie to watch if you want to know how to make your shoestring budget work for you.
Yeah.
Because it focused in all of the best areas, like for instance production design, like and the music. You brought up the music guy for this. There's almost like kind of a weird comedy element to the music. It reminded me for some reason of like Rugrats or something like that. Like there was a lot of like xylophone and kind of silly elements to it.
Quirky.
But it
like
works
zany.
for, frankly, like the fact I understood this woman when I saw that she worked in so much TV, because this felt like a television production, and not in the sense that it feels like a TV movie. Just like it's someone who has worked, and that's the funny thing too. I don't even think she worked in TV before this film came out. This was like kind of before she'd made anything. Like, at least when I was looking at her on IMDb, like she had like maybe 2 credits before this movie came out.
Right.
So, if anything, this might have been kind of a good little resume to give to television studios to be like, see what I made with very little money? Just think of what I could do with your TV show.
Exactly.
Because,
well, actually, now that we're touching on it, so this is a movie, it's a satire of, like, essentially gender stereotypes is what this is really a satire of. So in this movie, it's about Megan. She is basically outed to herself as a lesbian. Does not believe it because she's so feminine. So her parents send her to a conversion camp. She meets other lesbians, other gays, and they're all there, you know, to become straight. And while she's there, she discovers, starts to understand herself. Like, she even has this thing, oh my god, doesn't everybody have these thoughts? And they're like, no. She falls in love with another girl named Graham. She meets like the the gay resistance part of the whole universe over there. You know, some people get kicked out for being too accepting of their identity and engaging in homosexual behavior. And so she ends up getting kicked out, and she goes back to save the woman she loves. And that's kind of like just the here and there of this. But had you ever seen this before?
No, I'd never heard of this before, but it kind of goes to, you know,
heard of, oh well, never mind. That was an easy question to answer.
Well, that's kind of like a, you know, like we were talking about this months ago when we were kind of figuring out what, you know, stuff we were going to be talking about. And like satire, I had to kind of explain like what it was.
I still don't think I have a good grasp on what satire is.
No,
this is one because it came up on a list of great satire movies, and like I've seen this many times, so I get it. Kind of.
Yeah, no. So, but it is satire. Like we'll get into it as we go into kind of the film techniques and some of the things that I thought were like very perfect for this. But. No, like I hadn't heard of this. And this is kind of a thing with like queer cinema is, you know, like I'm Mr. Straight Cis guy. So, you know, these films are already kind of niche. They don't get marketed to everybody. Like you don't really, I've never lived as a gay man, so I can't say, but I'm
shocked.
I would pose the question to you, T, that I would think a lot of films like this kind of get passed around by word of mouth, like especially like maybe when you're in high school and stuff, and there's not a lot of other like gay kids and stuff. Like the ones that are gay, you probably are like, oh, have you seen this? This is like a really, you know, good like movie, kind of satirizing how we're treated and. Like, I'm guessing that's kind of the case. Because, like, this already, like, probably wasn't marketed to everybody in 2000, you know, when the Clintons were still saying that, like, they didn't support, like,
right.
You know, I guess like this, the time this came out, it was not the time that it is now, you know?
Right.
So I don't think that they would have been putting trailers for this in major cinemas. Even the fact it did super well, you know, made back all of its budget, you know, made $2 million out of a $1 million. Like, it did really well, but I am guessing this is something that was probably playing in art house cinemas.
Right, yeah. It doesn't say
probably
how wide
late
the
at night
release
too.
is. Yeah, I don't say how wide the release is. I get the impression though this would have been probably in major cities only.
Yeah, I would think so. Definitely not going to see this in like rural Alabama.
Somebody orders it on accident.
I thought I was seeing Star Wars.
What is this?
What is this crap? I thought I was seeing Sex in the City, the movie.
Oh my god. So
where's Samantha?
Where's Samantha? I mean,
what is this crap? No,
that is Whiskey's alter ego. We call him Moonshine. So this all came about. Actually, first off, what were your first thoughts? I want to say walking. I like to say walking out of this movie, but like, you know, you sat down and watched it. But what are your walkout thoughts?
Well, like 5 minutes into it, like I said, I was like, okay, this is actually what the assignment was. This is not a repeat of last year, because it is very... Let me go ahead. I got my notes from last episode, and I'm just going to read off the definition of satire from the Oxford Dictionary again.
Please do.
Use of humor, irony, ridicule, or exaggeration to expose and criticize people's stupidity or vices, particularly in the context of contemporary politics and other topical issues. So, exaggeration is the name of the game, and this director, Jamie Babbitt?
Jamie Babbitt.
Jamie Babbitt. She
Not to be confused with
knows, right? Yeah, I wanted to make sure. Because I mentioned the music. The music sets the tone. Again, awesome opening credits song. Great. It's funny. So I'll even bring that up too. So the opening title song is a remake of a French pop song from the 60s. And the French pop song, it's all in French, but it's basically like chastising this guy for his womanizing. Yeah. It's like, the title's in French, but it translates essentially to like knock it off with the women. But this musician from the 90s made a cover of it. She did the original French version as well, so she has like a French cover of it, but she actually translated and came up with her own English lyrics. And I believe I had heard the French version, but I think the one I had heard the most was her English version. And I love... this would have been the music supervisor who picked this out, not the composer or whatever, but such a good choice, because the lyrics are hang up the chick habit, hang it up daddy, or, you know, like, it's going into the whole point of the movie is she's going to a conversion camp because she has to hang up her chick habit. So, like, it works for, like, the cheerleading montage that we have during the credits and everything, but it's also kind of an ironic thing because the song is written to be, like, talking to a man, but in the context of the movie, it's kind of like the point of the movie is her going to this camp because she needs to cut it out with the girls. But I loved, like, the comedy's great. I will say it didn't, like, completely make me laugh out loud all the time, but not at its fault. Like, it's good comedy writing. There was a lot of great, like, bits in this. And I totally saw immediately why this is probably beloved in the LGBTQ community. Right. Because it really is just making fun of the way that they're treated. Like, something I did find very funny, again, didn't make me laugh out loud or anything, but I love how everyone's just conspiring against her. Like that bitch cheerleader that's on her squad, like, you know, taking her, like, girl photo out of her locker as, like, evidence, as if it's, like, any of her business anyway.
Locker.
Yeah, it's just, and also it's like, who are you? Why are you at my intervention? And that too, like, the idea that, like, it was funny to me that somehow her boyfriend like knew that she wasn't like fantasizing about him or something, and I guess it's because she wasn't kissing him as hard as he'd liked.
Right, but like
that was funny too.
When you first watch this, you're like, dude, you just suck at kissing, because he's like not good at it too.
Well, and it's like it's kind of one of those things too where I think as a straight man, like I think you like learn because I can kind of relate to that as like a teenager, because like you're kind of teens are bad at everything. Like you're bad at kissing, you're bad at any like romantic stuff, but I feel like one thing that men have to learn is like not to use as much tongue, because like women don't tend to like it. Like they like it but they don't like it that much. So like I feel like that was kind of,
this has been
it's
dating
funny,
tips
but
from
it's
Whiskey.
also well, like again with satire it's all about exaggeration.
Yeah.
So like there's an element of truth to that. Even like with straight women, like I think all of them would probably say like teenage men kind of do kiss like that.
Yeah.
But they're just cranking it up just to make it as like disgusting and as
He's like literally
unappealing as
licking her
possible.
face. It's funny.
Right? So right off the bat, I got it. The production design, like it feels kind of like a living cartoon. Just all the sets and stuff, like even though they didn't have money to like build houses and stuff, like the paint on things, the costumes, especially once we get to the conversion camp.
Yeah.
Like all of the men are wearing like the same blue uniform and all the women are wearing the same pink uniform, and it's like you said, it's all about like heteronormativity, and like you have to their whole conversion is really funny too, because it's all based on stereotypes.
Yeah.
Like it's all like, oh, you're a woman, you cook and clean, and oh, you're men, so you have to chop wood, which is like so funny too, because I mean I'm pretty sure there's a lot of straight dudes who are into fashion and, you know, doing their nails and stuff like that.
Look at Chris Angel.
And same thing too. Yeah, like there's a lot of straight women who like men who also might be into like martial arts or something like that. So it's you know, reality versus this silly universe. But I think what it must, again, I can't speak on it because I've never been in this position, but I'm sure what was extremely hysterical to any like gay people watching this film is just how it's not too far off from how they're treated.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of like very ridiculous stereotypes about like gay people. I've told you this. I don't think I've ever brought this up on the show, but I always like bringing it up like whenever, you know, the topic of like how gay people act or like what they're into is all the, you know, because they're into whatever, right? Like I feel like whenever people think of like, oh, gay men, they all love like Cher and they love like Queer Eye and stuff like that. I had a coworker who was gay and he loved the Halloween series and he loved He-Man.
I mean, that's not surprising. We do love our screen
It's not
queens.
surprising. It's not surprising, but it's the sort of thing that like you talk to another like straight, you know, maybe even conservative leaning, like, oh, you like He-Man? That's weird. That's a boy show. Weren't you watching Barbie? And it's like, no, he liked He-Man because he thought He-Man was hot.
Right?
Like, you know, and I'm pretty sure a lot of gay little boys in the 80s all loved He-Man. And same thing, like, you know, he loved Halloween. He just liked Halloween.
He-Man
like,
is like a gay icon now. Which is hilarious.
Well, and then that's the funny thing too with overcorrecting to be, you know, sensitive to, you know, because they did a He-Man reboot on Netflix and took He-Man out of the show.
Oh my god.
I know, and again, it's like it's to be. Oh, we want the more women to be. It's like this isn't the show, guys.
No,
like
at that point, just
you're
make a
making
new
everyone
show.
angry. You're making the anti-woke people angry, and you're making the gay men angry. Just don't.
So it's
just don't with the show.
It's interesting that you bring up, you know, like the stereotypes and the kind of like against the grain perspective that this has, because Babbitt, she with her girlfriend, she originally, according to Wikipedia, one of our favorite sources. She originally wanted to make a movie about a comedy about like a 12-step program, and then she read an article about somebody who went through conversion therapy and how they had been like kind of just um like hated themselves afterwards. So she decided to kind of make this. She said she didn't feel qualified to do it, so she had Brian Wayne Peterson. She worked with him, and I guess he had um experience kind of in this a little bit because I guess he had worked at a prison clinic for sex offenders. um so he had perspective from that. But she also said that she wanted to make it from kind of more of the feminine side of lesbianism, because according to Wikipedia, she said that the movies that had come out in the 90s, they referenced specifically The Watermelon Woman and Go Fish, took the butch perspective on it. So this was kind of a fresher take on, for lack of a better term, on lesbianism than they had seen. And that's kind of like why Megan is the way she is in the movie. And that's kind of why the movie's called what it is because based on what media had been saying, that to be a lesbian, you had to be like butch. You had to be masculine. You had to be, driving U-Hauls, essentially. Fixing cars, that made you lesbian. And that's kind of like where her whole confusion essentially comes from. And the title comes from.
I think a big misconception is like, because you talk to people like what do gay people like, and I feel like a lot of people, especially if they don't know any gay people, they just, it's like, oh, it's boys who like girl things or girls who like boy things, which also kind of explains why there's so much confusion about like trans people, because it's like I feel like some people kind of, because you could be a man attracted to men but not have like dysphoria and feel like that you're in the wrong body.
Yeah.
And that too, like there's like, I feel like all people in general, they always think like, oh, gay men, they just like, they act feminine and they like feminine men, and it's like there's different kinds of gay men, and depending on who you talk to, there's like different types that they're attracted to.
Yeah.
Some gay dudes are like really into like super masculine guys, and then you got some who are into like twinks, and then you got, so it's like I like that,
the otters, the cubs, the tweens.
Exactly. You know all of the subcategories that I can't list.
The tribe.
Yeah, right. So no, and it's definitely because you picture lesbian in your head, and you always think of like a girl with like a mullet and like and like a flannel and like a septum piercing, right? It's so yeah, like I think this movie, it's part of the satire is just kind of playing on those expectations. It's like, wait, a gay woman wouldn't look feminine and act feminine. And that too, one thing I love about her character is that she's genuinely passionate about cheerleading.
I know, like, I love that. Now, she said she picked that because Bob said she picked that as not like her occupation, but like kind of as her identity, because it was like the pinnacle of like Americana. Like, yes, the feminine woman. If you look at Americana, even like my Madame Alexander doll collection, I have a few pieces from their Americana line, and they have Cheerleader in there. It's just like, it's such a classic feminine icon, because as much as this is set in the present time, it feels very 50s, which is on purpose. That's basically when the whole men were men, women are women, sort of, ideology really kind of took center stage.
Oh yeah. No, and that too, with that song I keep bringing up, it feels, because it's based on a 60s song, but it feels very old fashioned, and it kind of puts you in that mindset of like even though the song came out in the 1960s, it still feels kind of like that old era, because like even in the 60s, people were not friendly to queer people, so but it's cool because even the other people at the camp, like, they think cheerleading is silly.
Yeah.
Um, so it's like she's trying to defend her own like passion, even with the like girl that she falls in love with. She's explaining how it's like, no, it's actually good because, and it makes the whole ending very sweet too, where it's, it has that like classic like chasing after the person before they get away at the end of the like romantic comedy, whatever you want to call it. But she does like a cheer for her.
And I stopped my train of thought, but yes, that is so sweet. That is such a cute ending, and especially in the '90s, which was kind of, you know, a time of like queer sadness as far as in film. Again, we still didn't have lots. It's a moment of queer joy. Like I kind of feel like the movie has, despite its topics, it has lots of moments of queer joy in it.
Well, and it succeeds in being funny. Like, it's not a depressing movie. Like, you had me watch something before because you wanted to go on a side tangent, but it's the other kind of commonality that this shares with our last review is that both of the films are satirizing very dark subject matter,
Yeah.
but they still manage to be like funny without being depressing.
Yeah.
In Starship Troopers, it was like violence and fascism and like these really scary kind of things, but you're seeing it from like the fascist perspective, and you're kind of laughing at just how brutal and stupid this society is, and just how they're not really solving any of their problems, and just all of that. Whereas with this, it's like it's just kind of poking fun at how simplistic the people who think that this is like a mental illness are, and just how uncreative and forced everything is. Because like I love that too, where Moriarty's son is not in the program, but he is clearly also gay, and all of the like gay guys are lusting after him, and he's kind of like hooking up with them, and just sort of the denial she has about her own son, and
Right.
and that too, like kind of the big final graduation thing that they go through is like simulated sex, which if you stop to think about, and this is something in real life that's crazy with like homophobic people, they're kind of perverted about it. Like they always take it to a place no one else is taking it. Like they always talk about, oh, like it's against nature and God, and it's disgusting and blah, blah. But they're always the ones that get into like gross stuff about it.
Yeah. And,
And there's
no
something like there's something
there.
to be well, there's something to be said, like, and it's probably easy to forget because I'm pretty sure most of these actors were not actual teenagers. But in the context of the story, they are all underage, and you're having adults make children simulate sexual acts in order to like, excuse you again, like imagine someone catching just the mental gymnastics. It's because again, if you really think about what they're doing, it is one of the most creepy and depraved kind of, like, you're watching like kids have simulated sex with each other.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's lost on the filmmakers or the performers in this film. Like, again, this is satire. It's exaggeration for the point of like ridiculing whatever kind of ideology that you're trying to criticize. And most of the stuff that they do at this conversion place is so absurd and wouldn't prove anything. Again, it's like, oh, chop wood to prove you're a straight man,
Well,
or play football.
which we'll get into this right now, because one of the things that Bobbitt said she wanted to satirize was, she wanted to satirize the gay community. She wanted to satirize and heteronormativity and all that sort of stuff. And what's so funny is with our main character, the stuff that they're doing to like make her, be straight is like stuff that based on what we know about the character is stuff she would enjoy doing. She likes because she's such an all-American character, she like that's the sort of stuff she'd be into. She'd be into being a homemaker. She'd be into uh making, what the one I keep thinking of is when they have them scrubbing the floors. She'd be into, wearing nice dresses and hemming stuff and all the stuff that women are that are stereotypically supposed to do. So it's like it doesn't work for her. And then like the stuff they're having all the guys do is like just low key turning them all on because it's like they don't understand what they're doing. And also, if like their whole thing was they wanted to keep them from hooking up, why on earth would you put them in gendered housing like that? That's the part I don't understand. It's like,
right. I'm glad you brought that up.
It's how thick these people are with this, and it's just so bizarre. Like that one girl who kept zapping herself, and it's like, I think at the beginning, I think she says that pain turns her on, and so she's like, I'm like, how is this a deterrent for her?
Well, that's like the funny thing too, because no, and I love, they also have like counselors. So it's Moriarty is like with the girls, and then RuPaul is with the guys, and they're supposed to be kind of like their mentors and the ones teaching them how to be like straight. And I love what you're talking about with the guys just turning each other on, because RuPaul is always sitting man spread with like the shortest pants, and his crotch is facing the guys.
And like when he's and he's just talking about stuff, he's like, and he just like, who wants to go down with me next? And they're just like,
yep.
It's just like, it's just so just oblivious how people come over when you put people into stereotype, or you boil people down to stereotypes and you prescribe them to people. You can be so delusional about how it actually works for people.
Well, and I'm glad you brought up, because that was something I was thinking watching, is how it's like, if you house them all together, they're just gonna like bang each other. Like,
right,
or like kiss or whatever. So and I wasn't thinking about this until just right now. South Park, South Park's brought up as a satire all the time. They even did a gay conversion episode, and the whole joke is that the character who's put in the camp is not aware of what the camp, like, because everyone thinks he's gay, but they don't tell him what they like. He's supposed to be a fourth grader, so he doesn't know what sex is. He doesn't know what, like, so he doesn't know why he's at the camp. They like say, oh, we think you're a little bi-curious, but he doesn't know what that means, and no one will tell him what it means. And like that's like a part of the episode is like he's bunked with this other little boy, and the little boy is like, getting a crush on him, and it's funny because I also think they do that. I've never been to a gay conversion camp, but I'm pretty sure it's all one gender and they're all housed together. In fact, again, the thing that you sent me, based on the description of the kid who was put into one of these illegal ones, that is how they house you. And again, it's like, how do you expect that people aren't going to just reoffend, as you might say?
Right. So, like, just the total just lack of just sense with all this sort of stuff. But again, one of the main themes of this is the kind of 1950s way of viewing gender norms, and just the fact, and like this comes out several times, like if you look at her character, like I said, she's like the all-American girl and she's happy like that. Dante Bosco's character is very, just like normal kind of meathead sort of guy. He doesn't issue that. And then they have a character that's on the girls thing that she's just, I guess like her style's not feminine enough, and she's not even a lesbian. Everyone just tells her she is.
Well, and so like that was the other thing. I was kind of expecting this to be like that South Park episode months ago when you were like describing the plot of this. I originally thought the joke was going to be that she isn't a lesbian and everyone's just telling her that she is.
Right.
So that I was a little surprised at the beginning when it's like, 5 minutes in, she's kissing her boyfriend. You see boobs and butts like flashing in her mind, and I was, oh, okay, so she is actually gay. Um, but another thing too, like, so you were talking about that character who's shocking herself at night to keep away the impure thoughts.
Yeah.
They don't get into this in this movie, probably again because they're trying to be funny. They don't want to be too serious or too scary, or that is like a thing. Because like when I heard about gay conversion camps when I was like in high school, like that was kind of the understanding, is like they're sort of like just torturing you into like, oh, like you're gonna like women or you're gonna get shocked again.
Yeah.
Like that's what it sounds like they pretty much do at these camps. So, they turned it into like a funny little thing for the movie, but that's another one of those things where it's like, how are you teaching them anything? You're just torturing kids, essentially. And
Right. Well, they've said like that's. I think they've said like that sort of punishment, kind of similar. I think in the same vein of like, I think corporal punishment. It just makes you better at lying. It doesn't change anything. Which, I mean, of course, this can't be changed, so that's beside the point. But like, you just become better at being deceitful overall. Um, so they really kind of nailed the whole gender identity, not gender identity, gender, the very gendered way of looking at life through everything they did. Very, very pink, lots of hot pinks, very sort of stereotypical activities. The boys were always wearing blue. They're always, in pants. They had stuff. And then they would come with their families and they would look for the root of their problem. And it's like, I saw my mother got married in pants. And that's why she's lesbian. Like, it's so bizarre. But at the same time, they also have, like, with especially our main character, they're poking fun at her for being kind of feminine and perky and into cheerleading, and that's satirizing kind of the gay community, because I do feel like us in the gay community, we can also be sort of, you know, judgmental about the way that we express ourselves too. We also had kind of a satirization of like the SJW versions of gays, with the couple that comes rolling in wearing like military fatigues to like be like, this is the other way you can live, live your true self. And they like basically run like this, I don't know, it's like a halfway house or something for people out of the program. And it's very, very interesting. And but they do a good job of kind of showing, especially when they have an argument, the couple does, of like they're just like everybody else. But I just love kind of just the over the top kind of gay militia that they are in this movie.
Yeah, well, and they become kind of useful too, because I will say, like, I think this movie is really good, but it's not perfect, and I think it doesn't really have any stakes until the very end, but the stakes are pretty dire. Well, maybe not entirely the end. So, like, about halfway through the film, her parents come. It's like, so on the weekends you get parents or family therapy.
Yeah.
So, and the first time you get the family therapy is when she finds her root, which was apparently that at one point her father was out of work and her mother had to be the breadwinner, and so that's what made her gay. Which you already touched on this, but just that idea that, like, oh, one critical moment of your life just turned you into a gay, and it's like it's
Yeah.
almost it's I've never heard it put that way before, because usually people who don't understand homosexuals, like they believe it's a choice, right? Like, oh, I want to be gay, or what, like I feel like being attracted to men or whatever.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a unique thing that maybe some people believe that. It was the first time I had ever heard of that. So I guess it's maybe halfway through the movie, and it might have even been that family therapy session, but the stakes kind of come in where the family or her parents are like, you need to complete this program,
Well, to
or
be
you
fair,
can't come home.
not her parents, to be very clear. I mean, it seems like that, but we find out later it's not.
Ooh, wait.
Did,
I might have missed something.
did you not watch? Did you not watch the? Did you miss the mid-credit scene?
I think I saw it. Was it like describe it? I also saw this a few days ago.
So at the end, so we start the credits, and then partway through the credits, we have her dad is joining PFLAG, which for those of you that don't know, PFLAG is National Organization Parents and Friends of Lesbians and Gays. Basically, trying to be like to show he supports his daughter. The mother's not there, and she's also the one that says you can't come home, which again is also kind of a flip on the stereotypical. Usually, it's the father that has the issue.
Yeah.
Uh, so I can't believe you missed that.
Well, wait. So how is that not her parents then?
I mean,
Are they
it's supposed
adopted?
it's supposed to kind of be understood in the movie. You're supposed to kind of believe it's her parents, but if you really think about it, especially with the ending the way it is, it's really her mother that has the
Okay.
issue.
Okay, sorry. I thought okay. I thought I first off I do think I might have missed that because it's not ringing a bell. So I might have stopped right after the credits. I remember there was kind of not a mid credits thing, but there was like a couple of credits, and then there was like a funny thing that happened. But I don't think it was that.
Yeah.
Um, but the way you were putting that made me think like she was secretly adopted or something like that. So no, I get what you mean. My point though is that there's no real stakes for her until that is introduced, because it's like, oh, you're going to be homeless. Like if you don't complete this program, you're going to. Which that's another thing too, where it's like they couldn't legally do that. Like they're her legal guardians, and again,
Trust me,
in
there's
the
people that
context of
still
this
find out a
movie,
way to
she
do
is a
it.
minor. You cannot kick. Like you'd go to prison if you did that.
Yeah.
But that's like when the stakes really kick in, because she actually needs to complete the program or else she's out of the house. The other thing, the structure of this film. So, like you mentioned, how Babbitt was originally going to make this about the 12 steps.
Yeah.
And I like that. I think there's only 3 steps, but like the film is divided into different like phases of treatment. Like the first one, for instance, is admitting that you're a homosexual.
Yeah.
And then I think part 2 was finding the canon moment, whatever you want to call it,
The roots.
roots.
Finding your roots.
Finding your roots.
It's just a 5-step program.
Okay, 5 steps. But yeah, so it was divided into that. So I didn't know that background, but you bringing that up, I thought that was kind of interesting, because it's like, oh, that makes sense, the way that it's like different title cards.
Well, and then the thing about crap, I need to stop losing my train of thought. But what the thing, the way you see the way it's structured is like around that program, and as if you remember, it's also her like self acceptance of herself kind of follows that sort of same like trajectory. I mean, she doesn't have like a root, but for the most part, it kind of follows that as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
The most awkward, the most awkward 5-step program ever. So you have seen, I'm sure, the documentary. This movie is not yet rated or something like that. So this film, I'm sorry, you hadn't heard this, because this film was actually featured in it.
Oh my god! Did the NPAA rate this like NC-17 or something?
They wanted to. They did make.
I'm not surprised.
They made a few small changes to it. I forget what they are. But they did make a few cuts to get it down to R. But the director Babbitt, sorry. They said that when she was interviewed for this film is not yet rated. Yeah, that's what it was called. She says that films with homosexual content are treated more stringently than those with heterosexual content, and that scenes of female sexuality draw harsher criticism from the board than those of male sexuality. And she said that she felt discriminated against for making a gay film. I'm with her with this. This is like a very mild movie. This should only really be rated R for language with what they show.
Oh, Well, bringing that up, it's funny because this is one of those where for a lot of the movie, I was kind of like, why is this R? And for me, like, I think what made it make sense was there was a lot of strong language later on.
Yeah.
Actually, like, it's worth bringing that up. There's quite a bit of the F slur in this film. I know that is a sensitive word for you, so I
Yes.
was kind of curious to ask you what your feelings on its use in the film are.
Because what this film is actually about, it didn't feel like it was being used as just a random just insult or something. It was contextually important for this film. And I'm very happy that it's fallen out of fashion since like the 90s and the early 2000s, where it's kind of just used just sporadically and stuff as just a general insult for things for people. But in this film, I did feel like it was relevant to the plot, and it wasn't overused either, if that makes sense.
No,
it was literally the two
it's also it's probably helpful too that the only characters saying it are gay characters.
Well, except for that one girl's dad.
That's true. That's true. Um, but yeah, no. Going back to the MPAA stuff, which I guess I should say MPA now because they dropped that extra A. It's absurd. Outside of there being quite a lot of F slurs and F bombs and stuff, there's no nudity in this film. There's no sex scenes in this film. It's literally just people kissing, and they wanted to make that NC-17. I don't know what they I don't know what they cut out to get it down to R. But as of now, like, if you removed any foul language from this film,
This would be PG-13 at most.
yeah, and even that's kind of pushing it because again, it's just kissing. Like, everyone's fully clothed. Like, the worst argument you could make is like they talk about sex, and
There's
I
that.
mentioned.
Well, I could see the simulated sex scene being a little much for a PG.
Yes, they're all fully clothed for the simulated sex, but just with what I was talking about earlier about how actually perverted that would be if you did that with kids, it makes sense. Like, and again, like, there's no like actual sexual content, but it kind of operates on the assumption you understand how gay people have sex, and that's kind of a like touchy subject for people and stuff too. So that is crazy, though. It is wild that they wanted it to be that. that
I forget what they cut out, but I think I read it a while ago, and I was just
I bet it was nothing.
And I'm
I
just
bet
like,
it was
that's
literally nothing.
like, what about this made it NC-17?
Well, it's funny. That is still such a good, like, even though it's been like 2 decades or something since that film came out, it is still such a good documentary because the way that the rating films is important. We should definitely have a rating system so that you don't have kids watching inappropriate content. It's also a great way that everyone can get what they want because back in the early days of film, you just had a code you had to follow. So nothing could be inappropriate and everyone could see all films. So it's good to have a rating system, but the problem with the MPAA at the time, and probably still now, because I don't think they've changed anything.
I think it's gotten better.
It definitely seems to be.
Because Brokeback Mountain was R, and that was 5 years later. And I don't remember them saying they had any issues with the MPAA. And that's okay because there's so many F-bombs in that movie.
Right? But it's a good documentary. I still recommend people see it because it's crazy to see how it operated because it was just like a bunch of people just rating films based on their feelings at the time. Like, there was no real criteria. Like, people will talk about like, oh, you can say fuck once in a film, and it will still be PG-13. It's like, that's not a hard rule. Like, if they wanted to, they could make it R just because, I don't know, they said it really bad that one time. And they're all, like, all their identities were secret and they met up. It's a great film. I highly recommend people check it out because it's not like the FDA or something, where it's like you have people testing, or like there's a checklist of things you have to go through to make it like this rating. It was literally just based on their feelings. It doesn't seem to be quite that bad anymore.
Yeah, and then it's funny because they have that, and then they have people that are like pushing for R ratings, like they really want the R rating. I'm like, why? Why would you make your film less accessible? But that's a separate issue. But yes, it does have a place, but it does have some serious issues that she talked about in this documentary that affected her and this film, and probably kept it out of you from hearing about it sooner. Ironically.
Well, definitely knowing that they had trouble with the MPAA makes it make sense that I wouldn't have heard about this film. Again, I don't think that I would have been the demographic they'd want to market to, especially. Well, and also, I was in like second or third grade when this film came out, so it definitely wouldn't have been marketed to me. But that definitely makes sense. Although that is actually extra impressive that they were able to make so much money despite having to fight that uphill battle.
Right, and also especially at the time, with I'm assuming a much more limited release, there was enough interest and enough what's the word I'm looking for? And like enough, I guess, like chatter amongst people about this movie that people came and saw it.
Yeah.
This movie, lots of fun, very quirky, very colorful, very fun, very enjoyable. Does cover a very dark topic. Now, I did send you a video by one of my favorite YouTube creators, Scare Theater, and he talks about just like one specific camp that they're still trying to find out who is responsible for it in this sort of case. And I had you watch it, and they describe just very briefly the stuff that happened at this one, which is not the worst one I've heard of. And you were just like, like your response to it was just, you were shocked by just what they briefly detailed in this. Like, were you? I mean, I knew you were aware. You talked about were you aware of conversion camps and that sort of thing. You were, but like, I'm assuming it was worse than you anticipated.
Well, I will suggest we should probably link the video, since it's an ongoing thing that this poor guy is trying to find justice for. Even when I was probably like, young, edgy teenager, probably less sensitive, maybe not fully homophobic, but not like, it's, you know what I mean? Like, on its face, these camps are messed up. I don't understand what they think they're accomplishing, because all you're really doing is just torturing people.
Yeah.
And the sad truth is, like, again, I mentioned this film and the previous film we reviewed are comedies
on very serious topics.
Very serious topics, and it's sad that, like, if gay conversion camps worked the way they did, like these camps and this camp in this movie, minus that disturbing simulated sex thing, it wouldn't be nearly as horrific. The thing is, like, they've been doing this since the 1950s, and most of these camps are illegal.
Yeah.
Let's be clear. Like, unless it's like run by a church or something, it's usually just like the way that this guy described it. You're thrown in the back of a unmarked van and whisked off into the middle of the woods and electroshocked or waterboarded into thinking that you're straight, and then they, take you back to society. And that's kind of the sad reality of this, is it's like, it's not cutesy or fun or legal a lot of the time. The thing that really shocked me in the video, content warning, basically, so like, yeah, essay, sewer slide, all of that sort of stuff, which, that was actually kind of a topic in that South Park episode as well. Like, the idea that a lot of these people, when they come back from conversion camps, usually attempt to end their lives. So that's a whole thing. But this young man alleged that a bunch of the counselors assaulted the campers, and he contracted HIV.
Right.
That is what really shocked me. Like the stuff about like, the hard labor and like the stuff that he described as far as like therapy, quote unquote, didn't shock me because I've heard of that for a while. But just the like, I hate to use the word irony or like, but it's like you're telling them not to be gay, and then you as grown men are molesting kids.
Yeah.
Like at that point, it's like this is a sham. At that point, you're literally just doing this. You're trafficking minors to like molest.
Right.
Hate that this episode is getting so heavy and I'm using such strong language.
I know. I just kind of wanted to put in here because this movie is sort of fun and quirky. Just, a quick, sort of grounding as to, let's not forget that. I mean, if you really wanted to dive into it, the movie Boy Erased. This is the point of satire. Like, again, at the beginning of our last episode, I kind of talked about how the word satire is used as a shield by a lot of very unfunny people to make very racy jokes and just, oh, but it's satire, calm down. And it's like, satire is not like saying a racial slur and then laughing and be, oh no, I'm just being satirical. Yeah.
Like, there's usually thought put into it, and it's funny. Like, if it's done well, people should be laughing. And I think the fact that both of these films are tackling very, distressing topics, but doing it in a way that's entertaining. And in this case, like, I feel like this film is very relatable to queer people. They can laugh because it's like, oh my God, this is just like my Aunt Mildred who tied me to a chair and like, did the sign of the cross, which is also, that sucks if anything like that's ever happened to anybody. But I feel like there's sort of this, this is messed up and it happens to a lot of us, but isn't it funny? And aren't these people just like this?
Right. It's like, it's like with satire. It's like when you kind of just look at essentially satire, like from my base understanding of it in this case is basically stretching this idea so thin that even like when you look at what it really is, it's like, it's funny in just such a ridiculous way.
The last film, the satire tears holes in the fabric of bravado that fascism holds up.
Yeah.
And just kind of shows how stupid it is. This film makes you feel good in a way, like, again, despite like the sad reality of gay conversion camps. Like, this is a film that clearly is very cherished in the LGBTQ community.
Yeah.
And it's because despite the exaggeration and the over the top silliness of what's going on and just the absurdity and the, like, I know I'm not the only one who looks at the like simulated sex and is like, isn't this kind of creepy?
Yeah.
But that's like the point. I'm sure like a lot of gay people can kind of come together and like, oh, I saw this movie when I was 16 and I felt so seen.
Right. And the ridiculousness of that scene that they're doing the simulated sex while they still have like modesty leaves on is so bizarre.
Yeah. And so I feel like it really serves a purpose. And that's kind of the point of satire, is to like, you're critiquing things. But again, like at the end of the day, you should be like laughing or feeling good or something. And I think it very much accomplishes that.
No, I agree. And we're about at that time now. So what's your rating? But I'm a cheerleader.
Solid 3 out of 4 for me. I think my biggest criticism is that it's very short. You know what I mean? It's like just under 90 minutes. It's that's a good thing too, because it doesn't like overstay its welcome. It doesn't like try too hard to like overdo itself or anything, but it's just like a very simple movie.
Yeah.
So I definitely recommend it. I'll say it again. If you're someone who is planning on making like maybe your first feature, maybe you were able to scrape together like 10 grand and you're really having to make every cent count, I would watch this movie because it's very smart the way that they put it together. And in this case, I think a lot of the budget, there were a lot of, RuPaul and Moriarty and a few of the other bigger names that you dropped. Like they were gonna probably take up most of the budget for the film because you have to pay them like an actual actor wage. But it's very few locations. The costumes are all handmade. The score is very simple. It's a tight script. There's no fat to be trimmed. There's great setup and payoff. So like 3 out of 4 for me. It's like really good. It's not like the best thing I've ever seen, but I would watch it again. It's got some funny moments. And if it is one of your favorite films, maybe you were like gay and in the closet or, being told not to be a certain way, totally understand why this would be like one of your favorite movies. Cause I think that comes through even as someone who did not grow up with any of these things being thrust upon me. Like I can really empathize with the, what's being said in the film.
Yeah, but were the thrusts simulated? So in my case, I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 4 too, just because I do feel like I'm not faulting it for being low budget, but I'm just like, if they had gotten to have budget, it could have been so much cooler. And I kind of just, this isn't again not the fault of the movie. I just feel like there's something that keeps it from being perfect, and I do feel like there is just some stuff here, maybe with a little bit of like the shaky handheld in some places. The thing that really makes it feel low budget for me is when they go to rescue, and it kind of bugs me a little when they go to rescue their their love interests, Dolph and Megan. When they go to rescue their love interests, it's quite obvious this is just in a park somewhere. And it no longer feels like a movie. There's a brief scene where they go and they're like rolling across the grass, like to stay low. I kind of, something about that just takes me out of the movie for a minute. Like
I actually didn't, I didn't catch it when I was viewing it, but when I was doing my little bit of research on IMDb just to see, what Babbitt had done in the past and stuff, there was a note. If you watch the film, so like when they're driving off into the sunset after rescuing that fun fact, if you ever see characters like driving a car in a film, usually they are not actually driving. They're attached to like a trailer, which is being like pulled, like, so it looks like they're driving, but just off camera, they're actually being towed.
Yeah.
Apparently you can see the truck that's actually towing their car, and it hits a tree branch.
Oh my God.
So that's like something you can look out for at the very end of the film. So there's even a little bit of a goof there.
I didn't notice that, but I just remember what that drive off is. I'm like, oh my God, they are going so slow. Like, don't they need to like get out of there? And it's just going, and it's obviously because it's towing, and it's just it did not get the desired effect right there, and it's kind of, it adds to the campiness right there. I need to go watch that scene again and try to look for that trailer because that's actually hilarious. But that sequence at the end, just the way that it was filmed, for some reason takes me out of it. Like, it no longer feels like it's in the movie. And I get it, low, shoestring budget, but that's the main reason why I'm just knocking. There's just a few things like that throughout the movie that just kind of made the movie feel its budget. But yeah, 3 out of 4 pitchers of sweet tea for me. But yeah, other than that, super enjoyable movie, very funny.
What did you guys think? Did we do your favorite gay movie justice? If you're listening to this on YouTube Music, leave us a comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Right around the corner, we've got my favorite holiday, canonically, with the show.
Which I want you to name the month this year. Name it.
It's going to be, I don't know why I didn't come up with it years ago. It's Whiskey's Cinemaween, everybody. We're going to have we're going to have some spooky horror anthology films coming up. So stay tuned. We'll be doing that, and I can't believe the year is almost over. But hopefully you guys have been enjoying this season so far. And if you are just checking us out for the first time, we have so many episodes. We have years worth of episodes, so definitely check those out. But until next time, I've been Whiskey.
I've been Sweet Tea.
Keeping it Kino.
And suck it, Scorsese.
See you later, spookies.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Ghosties. Reels on the Rocks is a production of La Prince Laboratories. It is edited and produced by Alejandro Castillo and programmed by Jamie King. Original music is provided by Pat Mars, and original artwork by Ace Esparza.